that is such a flimsy, that's just not true. It's just not, it's not true for me. It's not true for me. I can only speak to me, and my experience. Everybody else's idea or whatever, however they define that success for themselves, that's great. That's your business. For me, that wasn't it, because when I started working and making a lot of money and, or at least a lot of money to me, more than I ever had, waiting tables and, doing all this stuff. Like I was, I checked all the boxes, career, check, independent, check, all this stuff. And I was deeply unhappy, deeply suffering internally. And so that journey led to.
Welcome to the Funny in Failure podcast, a podcast that celebrates failure and shines the light on the emotional side of comedy, with yours truly, Michael Kahan.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Today's guest is simply brilliant. Jessica has an amazing energy about her. She's reflective, deep, and playful. All the tools for a brilliant chat. Jessica also has a wonderful mindset and view on life. There are so many highlights in this one for me. But Jessica's reflections on what success means to her is great to hear. On top of that, her longevity outlook and looking after her body, mind, and soul is really inspiring and empowering. I had a great time chatting with Jessica. I think you'll love this chat too. Okay, let's get into it. Jessica Camacho is an actress who can currently be seen in a series regular role in Amazon Prime's action series Countdown, opposite Jensen Ackles and Eric Dane. Jessica is perhaps most known for a series regular role for CBS drama series All Rise. She can also be seen reoccurring on CBS's SWAT and Amazon Thieves' Bosch Legacy, and will soon be reoccurring on CBS's comedy series DMV. Previously, Jessica has reoccurred on HBO's Watchmen, Netflix's sci-fi drama Another Life, CW's The Flash, and was a regular on NBC's Taken. She's also reoccurred on Fox's Sleepy Hollow. So as you can imagine, we dive deep and we cover a lot, and we chat about when shows end, The Flash, her apparent death, meditation and healing, stepping away and coming back, Countdown, rejection and self-worth, taking direction, nerves, internal knowing and success, plus plenty more. Before we get into this epic chat, in case you aren't aware, the videos are now available on YouTube under Michael Kahan. That's Kahan with a K, unless you're listening to it already. I'll still be posting snippets of these chats on Instagram under Funny and Failure, so check them out if you want to stay in the loop for upcoming episodes, or you want to ask a guest a question. I'd also love it if you would share the podcast or share your takeaways from the chat. It really motivates me, helps the podcast grow, and ensures I can lock in amazing guests like this one. And just as a final reminder, the podcast comes out at 3:30 Melbourne, Australian time, with the full video of the podcast to be released the following day. Okay, cool. Thank you. Let's get into it. I found hilarious, or I hope it's a hilarious place to start. Ready to rumble?
Okay, good. I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, well, it's a hit and miss, but I think with your sense of humor, you'll enjoy it. I built this up too much, but I saw on YouTube the other day that it said something like 5 Hollywood legends have died this month, 2 months ago. So look, I just want to know how you're doing. How did you take the news? Is this a common occurrence, or is this like the first time you've ever heard of something like this?
Was I one of the Hollywood legends?
Yeah, one of the 5.
So I'm currently deceased.
Yes. It's a great honor.
Well, I did not know that I was living my life as a ghost. This is new information. You're blowing my mind. It explains a lot.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It explains things are starting to, the connections are being made. I will have you know I'm very much alive and very much enjoying my life. But thank you for the concern and for checking in with me about my death.
I did get worried, but then I saw it was one of those like absolute shit, like clickbait, the worst like YouTube video I've ever seen. I didn't
Do
make it
they,
past
I
that
mean,
10
how
seconds.
does that even come to pass? Do they just like randomly assign a name from the ether and like
Well, you're in the,
decide?
they must have like a legendary space because to be in top five legendary Hollywood actors, that's a
Yeah,
compliment. How do
it
you
is an
take
honor.
it?
You're right. All I really took from that was that I am considered a legend, and that's all I heard. To
Yeah,
be
I
honest
don't.
with you, what an honor.
Do you
Yeah.
ever, I would imagine in your career, I don't know if you look at social media too much, but have you had that throughout your career, like just articles that might not even be true or even like negative?
Yes.
Okay, tell me, how do you
Yes.
deal? Because this is just one small example of the stupidest thing. How do you cope? I assume most are positive, but yeah, tell me your secrets.
Don't assume that. I mean, that is a wild assumption. That's a brave assumption. I have read articles about places that I was born where I was not. I've read articles about people that I have dated, whom I did not,
Oh,
whom I
wow.
think wonderful people. Never dated them before.
There's still time.
There's still, yeah.
Yeah.
After we finish this podcast, I'm gonna slide into the DMs.
Yeah.
But it's wild. You cannot, I learned very early on, you cannot believe everything that you read. You truly cannot. You got to take things with a grain of salt. If you want to get closer to the truth, you have to do some research, do your due diligence, fact check, cite multiple sources. Don't be someone who's just like, oh my God. And then you take that as the gospel. And then in terms of how I deal with that stuff, I think the first time that I that I read something that was just wrong, I was like, it was so not a big deal at all. But the fact that they were bold enough to just put information out about me that was wrong,
Yeah.
I just felt like the injustice. And I kind of like it sat with me for a while and I kind of fixated on it. And then I'm like, in the in the grand scheme of things, does it matter
Mm.
actually at all? Does it affect me? It will only affect me if I allow it to rob my peace and if I assign meaning to it. And I can just as easily choose not to assign meaning. And so that's what I have done and continued to do, and that serves me well.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's mastery because we've had so many examples where someone might even write like a bad comment. Forget about not writing the truth. That would be so annoying. Have you ever considered like messaging the author? A lot of the time it's probably like bots and fake stuff, but have you ever been like, I'm going to send this message, I'm going to do it, and then
Oh, yeah. I mean, sure. I'm just a fallible in there. I was waiting for it to happen, and it's happening. Okay. Here's what I'm gonna do. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna send him with my brother. Pause.
I love that you said, what was it? Rot my piece. You won't allow it to rot your piece. That's a very difficult. I feel like you've gone through a journey here. A lot of actors have like spoken about like people posting crap or fake stuff or even negative reviews. Have you always been a mastery and have you had to be able to like change your? No, okay, tell me all.
No. I've had to learn how to temper my reactions, how I allow something to settle upon me, whether or not I'm going to choose to carry something that does not belong to me. And, I have definitely read negative things about myself. It's so easy, or about me. It's so easy for people, it's just a platform upon which anybody can put anything.
Mm,
And I've come to the understanding that truly, what other people think of me is not my business. It's just not my business. And more often than not, if somebody has something negative that they want to say, that they're feeling about me, more often than not, it really doesn't have anything to do with me. It's
yes.
what they see of themselves reflected in me. Or, I'm a mirror for whatever it is that they need to see. It's an opportunity for them to grapple with whatever they're grappling with, and so I don't take it personally. And I think, And I want to clarify that. I don't allow myself to take it personally. The
Cool.
inclination is there to take it personally. We're sensitive beings. We are beings who are social. We rely upon one another. We are out here existing together, and so there's this we're super vulnerable, like, and receptive, and so the
Definitely.
inclination is there, but what I have to then do is be like, nope, I'm not going to. It's okay, whatever they think about me, that's okay, that's their business. I know who I am. I know what I'm not. I know I'm not going to let it rock my spirit, and I make a conscious decision to release that and to not even let it kind of land upon me, and you just release. Yeah.
Cool. That is so awesome. And I love that you bring up the mirror because I know, especially, when I was first starting out and people get angry or whatever, and I'm getting angry because they're getting angry. And I wish I knew when I was a bit younger the concept of the mirror that often when people are like triggered by you or me or whatever, it actually has nothing to do with ourselves. But also
Right.
knowing that I could still get annoyed often as well. That's to keep yourself in that, that zone. You have to do a lot of work on yourself. And we'll talk about, some of the stuff that you do in a bit. But that is so healthy to be able to realize, you know what, it's probably not me, especially if it's a random person you've never met. Like it's just doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. You're bumping up against something that they're carrying, whether it's a stranger that you come across and, you have like a tense moment. It's like you're bumping up against their own stuff. People are edgy. Life is a lot. Life
Yep.
is not easy. We're all navigating stuff all the time, and when we're walking around, it's rare, I think, when we're actually walking around in a total state of peace and bliss and like emptiness and just awareness. That's the goal. I think it's certainly my goal,
Yeah.
but that takes consistent practice and effort, on a daily basis. So a lot of the time you're just bumping up against each other's stuff, against each other's frustrations and resentments. And, it's like, it's very, I think, there's so much wisdom in, like, you can't, it's not going to do anything positive to just ping pong energy. Oh, you want to give me crappy energy? I'm going to give it back to you, and they're going to give it back to me, and I'm going to give it back to you, and then you're going to give it to somebody else, and they're going to give it to somebody else. And if that's not how we want to see and live in this world, then we have to catch ourselves. We're the
Right.
one.
That's how we change the world. And we do live in the, unfortunately, everyone does, and I do it at times where, someone can be mad or angry and then we don't necessarily transmute it. And as you said, that ping pong can happen. But if someone sends it, you just kind of stick your hand out and go, no, set those boundaries however best. And then that actually changes the world. Often a lot of the time,
Yeah.
especially with the mirror concept, when depending on obviously the relationship or if it's someone being, acting out and just be like, hey, that's your stuff. People often like, oh, I'm so sorry, I had no idea. Like people are so
Hmm.
can be like zombies as well. But I feel like you've done a lot of work on yourself. Just and there's so many different quotes and stuff. I know that you've done yoga. We'll talk about you running a marathon soon. You've done yoga, meditation, journaling. Tell me, when did all of this? Is this something that you were born with, or you figured it out a bit later in life, and why do you do it?
Yeah, no, I started learning about methods to help me navigate life because I was not born with methods to help me
Oh,
navigate life.
interesting.
I was, I'm not saying, I mean, I was born in a family with a lot of love. But again, we're all out here on our own paths and our own journeys, and we all have stuff from our past, our deep kind of seated beliefs, internal wounding, all that stuff. And I think until you kind of recognize, until maybe you've hit enough walls and you recognize something is not working about how I'm showing up for my life. And you get
Interesting.
curious about that, until then, you're just kind of throwing paint at the wall, or you're just out here doing your best, And for me, I'm very grateful that at some point, the strategies and the techniques that I use to navigate the world and kind of set off on my own course, what maybe what worked for me throughout those different periods stopped working for me. And
Interesting.
I found myself in a point, several years ago where I was like, I'm deeply unhappy. I'm deeply depressed. I, oh no, and it was really hard and
Mm.
isolating and scary, and confusing, and so I decided to do something about it, and I started with therapy, and therapy changed my life. It allowed me to understand that I was not alone in these very human experiences, in all of the things that we grapple with, not feeling like we're enough, feeling like we're too much, being insecure, feeling like we're an imposter, not knowing how to navigate our dreams, not knowing if we're worth navigating our dreams. All of these things, these are very human
Super
experiences.
normal. We all have it. Yeah.
Exactly. And yet they feel so isolating. They feel so deeply personal and so insular and kind of scary. And you kind of looking at the outside world, it's so easy to look outside and just make the assumption that everybody else is pretty much doing okay. And they seem to have it figured out. Why can't I figure this out? And therapy allowed me to start, having a space to question that and be curious about that. And also like a voice of reason from an objective point of view. It was like, oh, wait, Jess, let's look at actually what's going on here, and that was really powerful. And I think that
Cool.
was maybe the first step that led to my own, like the work of working on myself. And and then it would, and then it was like expanding from there, and
Cool.
yoga and well, really, what is the intention of yoga? It's the meditation, so what is meditation? What does that allow me to do? What is presence? What is awareness? And then getting curious about all of these things. I am a self-help fan. I
So am
love
I.
me some self-help books.
Yeah.
And so many people like, I tell my brother, he's like, oh my God. I'm like, yay, it's great. Let me read something where you're just like, okay. And I'll read something, he's like, that's pretty good. I'm like, I know, I'm telling you. That just happened the other day. I was like, yes. But what I love about self-help is I love hearing from other people about their own journeys through their own, difficulties and challenges, and how they began to make changes in their lives that led them out of the darkness into greater understanding and acceptance, self-acceptance.
Yeah.
And so I think all of the things that I try and do, the through line is creating a deeper sense of awareness and presence within myself, and ability to show up in my life moment to moment more fully and more present and more available. So that's the through line. That's why I engage in all of the things that I do. That's
Cool.
the aim.
Okay, you're speaking my language. I love it. You said so much. I don't even know where to start, but
I'm
no, you
sorry,
did.
I will rant. I
No,
will
no, no.
rant.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And the passion as well. That's why I do the podcast. I appreciate it as well. The everyone's had this in their life where, where we allow ourselves to look deep within, and, we can ask ourselves the deep internal questions. Am I happy? Am I not happy? And then sometimes it's even scared to acknowledge that. It's really awesome that you looked within and said, you know what, I'm not happy. I need to make a change. What was there like a catalyst, or was it just, you're hustling, doing life, and then you're like, I need to do something about
Yeah.
this?
Um, you know, I think, how do I want to say this? Acting and the discovery of acting in my life, and the the discovery that this is what I was looking for in my life, as a career path, as a trajectory, as an artistic expression. Like this was the thing that I was looking for. Like that had been my North Star for years at this point. And it was like, no matter what else was going on in my life, that is where I was going. That is what I focused on. That is what my decisions were based upon. How do I get step by step, closer to making this pursuit a reality for me? And so at that point, I feel like my career was starting to cook. It was starting to cook, and I was getting opportunities, and I was, auditioning a lot and learning a lot, and I'd studied a bunch, and so I was at this place in my life where, I was kind of cruising and learning and I was still striving and still hustling, very much so. But I could see the growth and I could see the progress and I could see doors starting to open. And I remember I was in my little studio apartment, and this must have been, I don't know if it was pilot season or something like that, but it was a particularly kind of busy season in my life at this moment for auditions. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna throw everything I have at this thing. I mean, I want to call in all of my capability, my presence, my focus. Like, I'm gonna do the work. And so I would get up early, 5 a.m., 5:30, whatever, meditate, have coffee,
Yeah.
and then I'd start working on my auditions for the day. And I was doing the work, really like looking at my sides, making choices and intentions, and who is this person? What are the circumstances? I mean, doing the work and like really loving it, loving the discipline of that work. And then I would get dressed and I would go to the audition, and maybe there were a couple in a day, and so I'd spend the day driving around town. This is back when you would audition rooms. It's all very different now.
Yeah.
But I would go to the audition or auditions, and I would give it all I got. I had to give, and I'd come home and I would just crumble. I mean, it makes me a little emotional to remember this time in my life because it was so real. I would come home and I would just like, I would walk into my place, and this exhaustion would set itself upon me and move through me. And I just would get in bed and close the shades. And I was so sad. It was this very heavy, heavy, heavy experience. And it wasn't going away. It wasn't one day that this happened. This was kind of a period where I was noticing this pattern.
Yeah.
At first I thought maybe I'm just tired. Maybe it's because I've been getting up early, maybe, and then you realize, no, 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 I don't think that this is normal. And I remember I asked, I was really kind of, concerned, and I talked to a dear friend, and he's like, who, his sister was a therapist, and I was like, can I do a session with her? And he said, absolutely. And so we did a session, and I remember one of the first questions I asked her, I was like, hey, so here's what's been my pattern, and here's how I feel. When I get home, I just feel like I have no energy to like move a box or unpack this thing I need to unpack, or put this thing away, or do these things, hang this picture up. I don't have the energy. I can't do it. Is that normal? She's like, no,
Wow.
not like abnormal, but like, no, there's something going on.
Yeah.
There's something going on. We all have phases like that. That's fine. I mean, I have, days where I will stay in the bed because I love it and I want to be there. And I'm just like, I'm not doing anything.
Yep.
And I'm at peace with that. This was something different. I was incapacitated. I was like, I was pretty much, I was pretty much non-functional aside from my career pursuits,
Yep.
which that was like my North Star, my saving grace. That was like, I don't care, like I will commit to this, right? But every other part of my life seemed out of my grasp. And so when she kind of validated what I was starting to feel with, no, that's not really normal. It sounds like there's something going on. That was the first spark of hope
Cool.
that yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm not comparing, but it resonates with me when I first started doing the podcast and also doing screenwriting. If I got not even bad feedback with the script or just someone didn't get it, I would like almost, this happened a couple of times. I'd be in bed and I didn't like know how to cope. Now it couldn't be. If someone gives me feedback, I love it.
Yeah.
Even if I don't agree,
Yeah.
like give me feedback. With the podcast, for example, I would be exhausted after the podcast, just lie in bed. And yes, there's probably like an adrenaline dump and some other stuff. But I was like, what is wrong with me? I'm doing something I love. Like as you're pursuing something that you love. And I realized that I had put a lot of pressure on myself. My self-worth was attached to my creative pursuits. And then once I realized to kind of take a step back doesn't mean I love the podcast, I love the writing, but not to put so much pressure. Sure, there's other things as well. That was a real shift for me. Obviously, it didn't happen after day one, but that was really important for me. What were, some of this, if you want to share some of the stuff that you figured out, which has allowed you to, be more at ease and live your
Yeah.
greater life?
Yeah, I love that so much. That's so real. It's so human. And what you said about like the pressure and like, the level of importance, like this. And I think what helped me a lot was the understanding of my, I had been my introduction when I would meet people was like, hi, like if I had to like meet a group of people, say, and introduce myself, like something about you. Hi, I'm Jessica. Hi, I'm Jessica Camacho, and I'm an actor. Hi, I'm Jessica Camacho. I'm an aspiring actor. Hi, I'm Jessica Camacho. Acting at that point had become so much of my identity and
Yes.
what was associated with working to become an actor, an aspiring actor, an actor, what was associated with the pressure that I put on myself, that I didn't realize I was that I didn't realize was becoming heavier and heavier because there's this pressure. You start to feel like I've got to do this now. I've got to like reach this point. If I don't do that, then it means that I'm not really like moving forward. Like you have these kind of like landmarks that you think you need to meet them, achieve them, and if not, well, what does that say about me? I think I needed to
I get that.
start to disassemble like the identity that I had kind of assigned meaning to,
Yeah.
you know, because we are not any one thing. Our pursuits are our pursuits. They're a facet of us, and they can be really, really important parts of us, but they are a part of us. There are all these other parts that are in need of our attention, of our nourishing, our energy, our awareness, our love, our protection. And I think that I had been operating on go mode, for so long because I was like, if I know I'm going to achieve this, and that's my saving grace. And so it was like my self-worth relied upon success in that
Yes.
area. My self-worth relied upon my success. So everything was supercharged. And the result was that there were all these other parts of me that were totally underfed and unseen and lying in wait for my attention. And it wasn't until my body started to kind of shut down and tell me, no, like, no, we need to pay attention here, that I began to take a look at what was really going on with me and what I was carrying around and not realizing.
That is so cool. And I hope you know, I mean, from the positive aspect, because I think it's
Yeah.
almost, obviously, if it's done in a healthy way, um, to go through that is essential for human beings to look within. And I know you did that when you were acting as well, which we'll get into, but to look within to take, an audit of what's working and what's not working. So many people I know are too scared to do that. And no judgment, I get it, it's scary. And it's hard,
Scary.
as you said, something I've had to do and might have to do again. And, it's life. It's not, you don't just, you're not just happy all the time. But from the identity side, I think this is so important, and I could be wrong. So I used to be an accountant. So I never really identified much as being an accountant because I didn't like it. But then
Yeah.
transitioning to, let's say, the creative arts, and I'm sure you're the same. This is something where you really, it is a part of you, but as you said, there are other aspects of yourself. So there was this heightened attachment. And especially as an actor, And especially when you're first starting, you're getting rejected so many times. And that has nothing to do with your ability. You might not realize that at the time, but you might
Yeah.
get, one inverted commas small role and then get rejected 1,000 times. And that can be so brutal because you've made this decision to do something and then you're just getting rejected all the time. But within yourself, you are this person amongst other things. So it's that
Right.
also the navigating of that identity. And if you're not acting or you don't get work for the months or the year or whatever it is, that can be so hard mentally. And I know that something that I've had to deal with as well. What were, some of the things that you were doing? Was it the meditation, the journaling, the yoga, the running? Did you look at how did you realize what other aspects of yourself needed nurturing as well?
Um, it's a good question. How did I kind of begin to discover
Yeah.
parts of myself that needed my attention also? Yeah, because I think the one of the first things I reached for was like some kind of like physical activity, right? Because it was like all essential for my career, and it was like, okay, that's what you do. You go to acting class, you go to the gym, and that's what I was doing. And that's not to devalue the importance of that. It's super important to move your body. My
Agree.
relationship with physical activity has changed now.
Ooh,
Um, yeah, the reasons that I engage have changed now. I'm still very active and I love it, but I love it for very different reasons now,
is
but
that more? Sorry for interjecting. Is that more like
no.
it's not just for acting, it's for how you feel and how you want to feel? Or yeah, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's exactly right. It's like I I don't want to be so um, dependent upon the approval of the outside world about how my body shows up in space. Rather, I want to feel free and strong and healthy and capable. I want to feel present. I want to enjoy and explore life and all that it has to offer. And so I need a strong body. I need, and that's why I do it. That's why I drink, juices and do all these
Nice.
things. It's because it's what we do, what we engage with, what we put in our bodies, all these things, it's medicine or poison, And so
Definitely.
I'm right. I'm like, well, I'm not a perfect person. I'm not saying that I am not a saint. We all have like vices. We are human.
Yeah.
But it's really important to me to be mindful of how I'm treating my temple, the vehicle that allows me to experience life,
Brilliant.
Um, so, that was a big shift for me. And then I think I love my morning routine. Like when I don't do it, and sometimes I can't. Sometimes
Yeah.
I wake up and I slept in too much or other things are happening, that need my attention, and that's okay. I've learned not to berate myself if I have to veer from the morning routine, which I prioritize and cherish and love. But my morning routine really allows me to plant my feet on the ground, physically and also like spiritually, mentally, and metaphorically, and just connect with myself and where I am in a mindful way. And that practice entails, coffee. I love coffee. For me, that is my jam. It's not for everyone. For me, it is joy. My love language is bring me a cup of coffee in bed.
I've never seen someone light up so much about coffee. You
I
keep it
know
going.
it's
That
ridiculous.
there's like
Um,
I don't know, sorry, one of my friends, he loves coffee, but I know he doesn't actually love coffee. He's like, I love coffee, and he's handshaking. He's like, fuck, I haven't had my fifth one for the
but
day.
he
I'm like, that's
needs
something
coffee.
else.
He needs,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
something. Yeah, sorry,
that's
continue.
something else. Yeah, yeah. I know that feeling well. But so coffee for me, and then sitting down and reading a chapter or a page or whatever I can about whatever book I'm reading, and then journaling and meditation. And so that practice allows me to identify whatever it is that needs like attention. whether it's a question, something that I'm wondering
Yeah.
about, something that I've been unsettled about, something there are flies in this place and they're driving me crazy. Okay. Something that I've been mulling over, something that I've been grappling with, struggling with, whatever it is, that allows me to kind of hear and connect with what I've been carrying around. Um, and that then kind of tells me where to go internally. Oh, okay, I recognize, this part of my life or this relationship really needs my attention right now. It really needs me to be curious about whether or not I'm showing up the way that I want to be showing up or whatever it is. So I think a really powerful practice, if you're trying to identify parts of your life that are deeply in need of some attention and some light, journaling, meditation. Yeah, journaling and meditation, that's a powerful combo.
Game changing. I'm going to do
Yeah.
more journaling. Thanks for that. That's a nice reminder. I go on and
Yeah.
off. And then I wrote like 50 points. I don't even know where to begin, but that's so cool. Also, that's like an amazing level internal therapy. I think that's so important as well because even just asking yourself the question, or you're like, okay, I'm feeling this, you then think about it for the whole day. You might like turn it off subconsciously, but you're already allowing, and that's how
Mhm.
you heal so quickly. Just asking it. Because as I said, so many people sweep things under the rug. I've done it. Everyone's done it. No judgment whatsoever. But when we kind of look under the rug, that's where we allow for rapid healing. And I think that's so exciting because we don't do it. We're scared, all of these things. So I love that. So you're starting your day fresh. And has that helped?
Yeah.
I know anything spring to mind?
Oh, yeah. That's the perfect way to put it. Just starting that day fresh, unbound, or rather, like the blindfold is, you know what I mean? Like starting is it's clarity. And
Yeah.
even if you don't come to some kind of like, answer, you have clarity about what you're curious about. You have clarity about what you're trying to bring awareness to, and
Yeah.
sometimes that's all the clarity that you need to have in a moment,
I meditate every morning and as not every single day I've spoken about this before, but sometimes I've meditated and I've just written scripts, which is like crazy. I still don't understand it. And it's just mind blowing. But that's not every day. That's like once in a blue
Yeah.
moon. Sometimes,
Yeah.
as you said, you're not going to go, oh, all of my issues stem from my dad or my mum. You're like, it might not be like that. It could literally just be nothing. And that's unbelievable. Just, the
Yeah.
silence. And then I feel like when we allow the silence, we allow in for new, like, information to kind of come through, if that makes sense. And I think
Yeah.
that is so, like, I just love meditation so much. I think it's so important. And then, journaling, which is something I've done, but I need to do more of. I think that's a beautiful combo. Doing all of these things, doing the therapy, changing your relationship with your body, how we were talking about the identity side as being an actor. Have you noticed, big shifts in that regard? Because you mentioned that was a previous issue. What's the relationship there now?
Yeah, I have. I've noticed. I think the biggest thing that I noticed was how I feel when I'm engaging, with my art form as a person. Showing up on set and working with people and being open to direction, being open to other,
Mm.
input that used to like I really grappled with that. I
Oh,
mean, I
interesting.
did not like direction, which is crazy. And
Is that more from a like self confidence or I'm doing it right?
insecurity,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
insecurity. Oh, this means I'm not good enough. I'm doing it
Yeah.
wrong. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not good enough. Mm. And so it would bump up against my insecurity, my deep-seated insecurity. That deep, um, um, and so I would get defensive, and so I started looking at that. I started creating more, becoming more aware of that. And it doesn't, it was like, I think one of the biggest things that can allow you to be guided or led towards what part of you is ready to evolve or heal in some way is like, how does it make you feel?
That's the most important question.
That's it. It is. Our emotions are, they are pointing the way to what is going on with us. They are like, hey, this doesn't feel good. They are, and they can be, I'm not saying feed into every single emotion that comes up because that's exactly what's going, but they're
Yeah.
guideposts. They absolutely are. And they can direct you to pay attention, like to be curious about them. Why does this feel the way that it feels like that for me? Okay, why does it bother me? What is under the emotion?
Cool.
Do you know what I
That,
mean?
yes. So I've been looking at anger. Not that I'm an angry. No one would know that I'm an angry person. Like what you see is what you get. But someone
Yeah.
might say something, annoy me, or maybe just an opinion I don't like. I don't express it, but inside I might have that 1 second of anger, and just going, huh. When I'm home or when I'm in the car, I'm going to look at that. Why did I have that response? No one knew I was smiling on the inside. And to me, that's been so important because why is the anger there? What is it? And as you said, showing a mirror, it's always me. But why am I angry? And I think that's so important. Not to go, you've made me angry. No one's actually made you, or no one's actually made me angry.
No,
I've made
right.
myself angry, so I don't express it in that way. But I think that's a really nice tool that we can
Yeah,
all use as well.
it is a tool. Curiosity is a tool. Curiosity is a total and absolute tool. It's like, I'm curious about why that was so bothersome for me. I'm curious about why that made me feel so belittled or diminished. Why?
Mm,
Was that what they were trying to do? And you kind of like work back from there. I have conversations with myself, legit. And it's usually when I'm like journaling, I'm like, is this really how you feel? I mean, I think so. Okay, well,
that's so cool.
what does that feel to you? Like when you kind of like think about where does that show up for you? I like mostly in I mean, I answer myself, and it has led me to some of the biggest moments of clarity for me that
Cool.
have allowed me, and I'm like, oh, whoa. Okay. Wow. I didn't realize that, me getting defensive about this was really because, I've been carrying around this like insecurity with me for as long as I can remember, and I realized just now where it stems from. And, so that person like doing that to me isn't about, you know what I mean? It just allows you
Yes.
to kind of like get
Yes.
in there a little more.
That
So I think that that is where I am as a person when
nice.
things happen, like I digressed, but like, I use the example of getting direction. Now it's like getting direction is being able to receive direction is one of the most important skills as an actor, in my opinion, because
Mm.
it's a collaborative art form. It's not a one person thing. It's
Yeah.
not. And that's the beauty of it. That's why we have directors. That's why we have, writers. That's why we have lighting people. And we have, sound people who create all of these different aspects of it that are all these pivotal components of this thing that comes together. I'm one part of it, you
I
know.
I think that's so important. When I did improv many years ago, I thought I was the funniest person, the best person. Obviously, I still allowed, like I wasn't
I'm
the
sure you
stat.
were. I'm
Yeah,
sure you
I'm
were.
brilliant. I still am. But I still, held space for people and still appreciate. But I was like, no, I'm the funniest person. So within like 1 week of doing improv, I realized that if someone wasn't like funny, I'm like, what's going on? You're not working with me. And I realized, you know what? I'm probably the problem. Then there was a big shift, and allowing for someone else to thrive actually made the scene better. I'm very grateful that I learned it so quickly, but I thought also when someone was giving me feedback, as I said, I love feedback now. And look, sometimes the feedback's not great, but if it's from people have to be in
Yeah.
relationship with feedback. I'd be like, I
Yeah.
wouldn't say anything. I'm like, that is the stupidest feedback I've ever received. That is so dumb. Now, hopefully, I would be like, you know what, I'll take that on board. And it was a really important shift, realizing that even if it's just one other person on the scene, even if I'm the best in the world, but if I'm not allowing the other person to be the best in the world, then it sucks. If they do amazing, then I'm doing great, even if I don't say a line. So it changed my mindset. It's also how I apply doing the podcast, screenwriting. Hopefully, when
Yeah.
the shows get made and stuff, it's to allow other people to shine. That's a big shift. That is That's really important, being able to take direction. And I'm sure that would also allow you to explore more things within yourself, not only as an actor, but as a person as well.
100%. It's about openness, being open. Um, because we don't know everything. And you got to get past, it's like why do I think I know everything? You come to terms with the fact that we don't, and we're always in a process of learning, and that's a beautiful thing. We're here to learn and grow. And if we're unwilling, to
Yeah.
receive, feedback or direction or, anything else like that, how are you going to continue evolving and learning and growing and, challenging yourself and coming up against like something that might feel uncomfortable, but then you navigate it and you're like, ooh, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So it's like openness, and not taking things personally. Openness and not taking things personally. There's so much freedom in those choices, just to like, I'm going to be more open and I'm going to really work on not taking everything so personally. It creates so much internal space, which I have seen affect my work, my relationships, my relationship with myself, the experience of my life and what I engage with. Being open and not taking things personally, I feel way more free.
Oh,
And that's
that's
how I
amazing.
want to feel. I want
Yes.
to feel free, and at peace. And that was those were big lessons, that allowed me to get closer to that.
That's amazing. I don't have anything smart to say, but you're allowing for you to feel your greater life. I think that's so amazing. I'm going to be taking down more notes after this. And how do you go from the acting side? This just springs to mind, like the nerves. Say you've just been thrown into, a big show or something. Or like this actually springs to mind, like Flash. I think you joined a bit later on. Massive show. You don't need to use that as an example because you got like 300 examples. How do you deal with the nerve side? You're like joining something. You might not know anyone. It's a big show. How do you cope?
Ah,
Yeah.
ah, woo, makes me like nervous even thinking about it.
Yeah.
I am not someone who's like cool, calm, and collected. Like I'm a
I'm
very
surprised.
thank you. I mean, what makes me cool is that I accept who I am. That makes me cool. That gives me confidence to show up as I am in my like weird, like big smile, like a lot of excitement or moody or whatever it is. Whatever it is, I accept. You know what I mean? Because I know myself and I'm like, I accept you. So like, I let myself move through space, and I forgot why I started off on that rant.
No, so great, so
It was
important. Yeah.
I was going somewhere.
You were talking about like when there's nervous, you're basically about accepting
Yes.
yourself, accepting the nerves, accepting who you are and what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's why I was like, I think I'm cool because I like accept myself,
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to be cool. When I was trying to be cool, I was not cool. Now that I'm not worried about
Yeah, I
being
think we
cool,
can
I feel
all
like I'm cool.
resonate
You
with
know what I
that.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel really cool because I'm like, I'm not cool, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, help me get back to where we were.
We are talking
Why?
about like when you join like a show, like you're in Countdown, for example, or Flash,
Yes,
or
thank you.
any
Thank you.
any of,
Rebecca.
and there's so many. I've read your credits at the start of the podcast. So many
Thank you.
credits, but especially like day one of something you're involved, or you get thrust into a massive
Yeah.
show and you might not know anyone. There's a lot going on. Even just like where do I go? Who do I speak to? The nerve
Yeah.
side. And from my
Yeah.
experience, the more nervous I've been, then it has potentially impacted my creativity. So my goal is to be as grounded and present as possible, which is, a lot
Yes.
easier said than done. Have you been able to deal with that?
Yes. Yes. Thank you for getting me back on track. I get excited and then I'll be like, wait,
No,
what?
no, I think you were
What are
on
we
track the
doing?
whole time. Yeah.
Um, I'm somebody who has really grappled with nerves, and I've talked to other people, about like, oh, what is that moment before, like before action, like you're ready and you're all like, you're on your starting mark and the scene's about to take place, and it's like that moment before, and they're like, oh, I love it. Like I love that moment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're like, I've heard this from more than one person, like that they view that big moment of anticipation, ooh, this is exciting. And they get really excited, like, and I'm like, that's cool. I don't really feel I feel like I'm about to die sometime. Like, I think it's the adrenaline. It's also it's you have to, come back to your body and understand that your body is turning itself on for you. Your body is flooding you with chemicals that are going to allow you to do the task at hand, fight, flight, or freeze, right? And so in this instance, you're like, you're on, it's activating you. So I identify what's going on in my body, and so I come back to my body and I ground myself in my body. So for me, that's breathing. Like I'm
Yeah, we
like,
forgot.
it's really before I go on a red carpet sometimes, it's a
Oh, those would
lot
be crazy. The lights, the people,
a
the
lot
screaming.
of energy. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's and the questions, and they're like, "What do you think about that?" And like, you gotta,
You're like, yes, yes, of course, green, blue, red, yeah.
what do I think about that? It's the pressure and this energy. So a lot of what I do entails asks me to be ready for that and be prepared to take that on. And so grounding myself in my body is super important. And I do that through breath. I'll make sounds like, like I'll
Oh,
release some of the tension, ha ha ha, like
did you learn
shake it
that?
out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's great.
Acting class, you learn that in acting class, but you learn that in kind of when if you start doing energetic work.
Yeah,
So
that's where I
whether
got it
that's
from.
right. So like breath work, somatic work, different types of yoga, that deal with that engage you in sound, whether it's through chanting or just the release of sound coupled with like your body moving. So I shake up that energy. I prepare my body. I understand that we're energetic beings, so I do what I can to prepare my energy. And then I also know what really matters in terms of like, I think the acting work for me and how it relates to that, the nervousness is like, I'm here, like I'm open and I'm present and I've done the work. I know who my character is. I know what the circumstances are. I know what the scene is about. I know what she wants, what she's fighting for, what she's going towards. I know, how she goes about getting it. So I've already done the work to connect to the circumstances. Being prepared is a huge a way for me to show up with the nerves, to like, I don't want to say combat the nerves, but
Yeah.
to meet the nerves. When I know that I'm prepared, I'm like, you know what? I've done all the work. I can allow myself to just be here now. And that's the next part. Be here now, you know.
Oh, okay. Oh, I love that as well. And I wrote down even more points or questions as well. And I heard, I don't know if you still do this. Did you or do you journal in between scenes? Is that
I've definitely done that before. Like if I need to, if I'm still trying to figure out something with my character, something within a scene, or if I need to stay, say, kind of dug into the emotions of a scene, right? If I need to kind of keep those emotions somewhat activated in my body,
yeah,
like I'll journal. So I use it as a tool if and when I need to.
nice.
It's a tool.
And from the nerve side, because people don't realize there's a whole lot of nerves as an actor, and a lot of it's not even when you're acting. It can be the waiting, or you've had shows. This, yeah, this springs to mind, like All Rise, for example. I think season 2 got cancelled, and then in that moment, like, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? And then it goes to another network, or you think you might get a call, or they may be tossing up between you and someone else, and all of these, or you're waiting for work. That's the biggest one. How do you have any, what's helped you there? Is it just, living your life, doing all the things we've spoken about, enjoying life, not just purely waiting for the phone? Because that to me is like anxiety on steroids if you're the type of person that just waits by the phone. What springs to
Yeah.
mind?
Yeah, it can be for sure. So I don't play that game.
Nice.
I don't engage in that way. And I haven't always been that way. Everything that I've learned through trial and error. I've learned by going through it on my own. I'm not somebody who learns by like, don't do that. I'm like, okay, like,
Of
oh,
course. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. It's like, don't do that. But I'm like, but why? Are we sure? Because I
Yeah.
feel like I could do that.
Yeah.
And then I learn,
That's great.
but So, help me, get me back on track.
Oh, we were talking about the nerves, the waiting, whether
Thank
it's
you,
a
the
show.
waiting.
Yeah.
Exactly, the waiting. So yes, I did not. God bless you for keeping me on track. Thank
No,
you.
you don't understand. I love this. You've got great energy. You're very
Okay.
insightful and deep and reflective. I love it.
Me
Keep on.
too.
Yeah.
Thank you. But yeah, I didn't always used to be like that. I would wait. Oh, would I wait? I would wait and I would obsess and
Yep.
I would fret and I would call and harass my managers and be
Yep.
like, "What have you heard anything?" And I would just my life would be this tense, like tightrope of tension, like just like, and it would make me, and it made me, I found myself being so hypersensitive and hyper triggered and hyper, like everything was on like high alert. And again, it was like, okay, does this feel good? And so I learned that it doesn't. And it's like, okay, realistically, how much of this can I actually control? Not a lot. What I can control is is my moment to moment, is my present moment, and how I show up for whatever comes my way. And it's my understanding that you know, I it's somewhere between like I don't believe in like everything is like manifested already, and I don't have hard lines in those beliefs.
Yeah.
I'm somewhere like
Right, no.
exactly. I'm like, yes, that works for me, and that works for me, and that works. So like I truly believe that whatever is meant to be will be with these bigger things that I have nothing to do with, that I have no say over. I have no say if if a show doesn't get picked up. I don't have any say in that. I have no control over that. So why am I going to fret about it? Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if there's yeah, what?
No, I was just going to say, I think that's so great. And that's like mastery. But I'm sure at the very start, or even like more recently, because it's not, you don't do it, necessarily for the money. It's the people, the money, you've got something to do. Because as an actor, you might not, your calendar could be completely free. And then,
Oh
then
yeah.
you're working for all of that. And that definitely will come up. But yeah, I always found that so interesting where, especially early on, because like everyone said this, you get that one role, it's like family, you might be a bit, not you, but one might be a bit naive and, you've met all these friends and then bam, might not even make a few episodes or it's just a pilot or you might even be replaced. All of these things are like
Absolutely.
crazy to me.
Absolutely. And that's what I realized. It was like I was making myself so miserable worrying about things and trying to predict things and fretting over things that I had no control over. And so it was like, you know what? I release it. I just release it. I
Nice.
will let myself be surprised by whatever comes. And in the meantime, and then I'll go from there. Whatever comes, I'll go from there. If it gets picked up, if it doesn't, if I get fired, if I get promoted, whatever it is, like when it comes, I have the wherewithal I know that I'll be okay no matter what.
Cool.
I know that I'll be okay no matter what. So I shifted my mindset, from one of absolute and total constant worry to one of like, hey, what's meant to be will be, and we'll go from there. And in the meantime, what am I doing as a person to show up for my life, not even
Yep.
in the meantime, not even until that happens, but like as my life continues day to day to day, like how am I filling my life up? How am I showing up for all of the facets of my life, all the people within it, the experiences that are waiting for me to discover them? What can I learn? How can I be of service? How can I grow today? How can I just be here today? How can I just be more present today? Like, what can I let go of today? Do you know what I'm saying? You get the
Yeah,
point.
I think that's so great. That's living a healthy, happy, well-rounded life. And
Well-rounded.
That's so crucial because, as we said at the start, you might be the accountant, you might be the actor, but there's so much more to life. And we don't necessarily, sometimes when we think of success, we look at the person, they've got 10 Emmys, they're doing movies and TV shows all the time. But I used to think that was purely success was the amount of work. But, there's one, there's quality, there's two, there's the how are your relationships, and how's your relationship with yourself, all of these things that you've said. So I would imagine that your relationship with success and failure would have changed massively given all the work that you've done on yourself as well. Did you remember what it was when you were first starting out? I know you said when you were 30, you didn't want to be a waiter anymore. Then you realized that you weren't going to be a waiter. How's your definitions, if you have definitions, kind of changed of what it means?
Definitions of
Like success, like how has it changed? I'm sure when you first started out, it was this, and now you might not even have one, but I'm sure it's shifted over time of what it means to be.
oh my God, absolutely. Yeah, I think that I was so goal oriented. Um, you know, I think back when I first started pursuing, acting, or even when I was in college or even high school, or even back in middle school, who knows? When you start to kind of like think of the question, what are you going to be when you grow up? What are you going to do with your life? I think my idea of success was a very streamlined, well, I'm going to, you set a goal and then you achieve that goal and that's success. And you get really good at it and you make a lot of money doing it and that's success. And that's so
It's not how it works.
That's so, that is such a flimsy, that's just not true. It's just not, it's not true for me. It's not true for me. I can only speak to me, and my experience. Everybody else's idea or whatever, however they define that success for themselves, that's great. That's your business. For me, that wasn't it, because when I started working and making a lot of money and, or at least a lot of money to me, more than I ever had, waiting tables and, doing all this stuff. Like I was, I checked all the boxes, career, check, independent, check, all this stuff. And I was deeply unhappy, deeply suffering internally.
Yep.
And so that journey led to this blah, 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 all this stuff that we've been talking about, all this amazing kind of
Cool.
curiosity, work, and all this stuff. And where that leads me now is my understanding of success is finding a sense of experiencing life from a place of peace, from um, a deeply in like an internal peace, like moving through my life with a deep sense of peace. That's one.
Cool.
And also a sense of fulfillment and joy in what I get to do. Those two things to me, and a sense of purpose. Yeah. So I think fulfillment, which maybe purpose is kind of a part of, and joy, and purpose and peace. That to me is success.
That's
Living from those core values. That to me is success.
That's so brilliant, and what nice shifts as well. And also because especially in acting, can just be like just get the role, just do whatever it takes. But then to allow for that, enjoyment, the fulfillment, all of that, that is a big shift because
Everything.
that's like survive to thrive as well. And I think that's really important. We all have that at times, and there's no judgment. But I think that's
Yeah.
a beautiful shift. And we've all had this in moments of life. You've spoken about this previously, and so many people have done this as well. You've had moments where you've wanted to leave acting. I think you have, or you've taken breaks, you've traveled, all the stuff that that we do. What is it about acting or this craft that keeps on pulling you back?
I find so much, I feel like it's a very profound act of service. For me, it's the way that I view it, the way that it shows up with me and for my life, that somebody could watch something that I'm in and feel less alone in an experience that they're having or have had or will have. Feel seen, feel less innately flawed, you know, like that is a beautiful, that's a beautiful way for me to be of service in that way. For me to like, it's about connection. It's about connection, like in our humanity. It's about like the story of our humanity and, you know, creating like space for compassion, like within ourselves and one another. And I feel like, you know, if somebody can relate to some part of me or my character, and it helps them in some way, just to feel less alone in their experience, that is like the most awesome, purposeful, beautiful reason to keep doing what I do. And that honestly is why I keep coming back to it. And also, when I discovered I wanted to be an actor, I took my first acting class and I did this monologue for the first time. I talk about it a lot in interviews because it changed my life. But I felt in that moment more deeply connected than I ever had to another human being. You know, this person who I was portraying, her circumstance was so different, and you know, she was a drug addict, and she had no one, and she had nothing, and my experience, you know, thankfully was not that, you know, and yet in this moment I connected to her, and I felt this like welling up inside of me, in such a very real way. I get chills even now thinking about it. What I recognize that as is it's a compassion. It was a deep compassion, and it changed my life. At that point, I became very curious about what is that, and how do you create more compassion? How do you experience more compassion with people? It changed my relationships, you know, and my family. It made me curious as to how to be a
Wow.
better daughter, a better human. How do I make space for somebody else's experience that I may not understand? So the potential for compassion that is a part of acting for me, that again, that's another reason why I'm like, this is very special, and I will recommit and recommit and recommit because I believe in it.
That is so profound. That's amazing. And I was also really curious because I think this is really rare. I think the word was you took the long route before you went to LA, you went to San Francisco and you studied, you did all of these things to build up the acting craft. Where did that, you know, maturity or longevity mindset come from? Because often when we start something, as you said, you just had an amazing experience. You feel it within. You could just go, okay, I'm going to LA, I'm going to New York, whatever. I'm going to, you know, put my hand up. Where did that come from? Because that's not rare. I'm sorry, that's very rare for especially a young person finding out their passions.
Whew. I I knew what the odds were, and they were not stacked in my favor.
Yep.
And so, I mean, when I discovered it, it was this very real, like, awakening within me that I just talked about.
Mm.
And I was like, whoa, that's real. That's real. Right. So it wasn't based on like, you know, I want to be in front of the camera, or I want to be famous. Like, I want, you know, to have all this attention. For me, it was like, that was the thing that I was looking for in my life. That was why nothing else made sense for me. I was meant to find this thing, this feeling, and there it is. And so now I'm going to do everything I can to protect it, to protect myself as I pursue it and learn about it. I'm going to take it really seriously. And it's like, this is, I don't know. For me, it was like divine intervention. It was like purpose. It was a very real purpose. So it wasn't, I didn't need to rush to show anyone anything. I needed to learn how to do it. And I wanted to learn how to do it well. And I wanted to be ready for it. And I knew, like, if I go to LA right now, you know, I was like, at the time, I think I had been in San Francisco for a couple years, and I was ready to leave, and I was like, do I go to LA at this point? And I recognized, and maybe this comes from my family, I have a deeply soulful family.
I
My
know.
mom and my dad, like, my grandparents were ministers. There's a lot of purposefulness that I witnessed. It was not whatever. It's like, no, no. The path that you decide upon, that's serious. And it deserves all of your attention. It deserves to be treated with like utmost seriousness and commitment and respect. Like I think that was just like instilled in me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like my upbringing. But I knew, like, I recognized at that point when I was at that crossroads, I was like, I'm too green in my, I want it too much right now. If I go down to LA, I'll get swallowed up because I don't yet have the life experience to give me the confidence as a person to navigate myself when I want this thing so bad.
That's still so crazy to even know that at that.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I know. I thank God, like, really, like, I am so grateful that I had this internal and intuitive knowing of that I'm not ready for that. I'll get swallowed up, and I'm not gonna let that happen to me. It was like this, like, what an act of love for myself to
Mm.
say, I'm going to take the long route. I'm going to go back to Chicago. We're going to spend a couple years there. We're going to do a couple things there. Then we're going to go to Florida, save up money, stay with mom, and then we're going to go. And so I had somebody tell me, I'll never forget this. I think about this from time to time. I went back to Chicago after I left San Francisco, and I'd been there for maybe a year, and they were like, we were at this like fancy dinner party. I don't even know why I was there, how I got there. But sitting next to this person and told him, my plan or whatever. He was like, you really should have gone to LA. Like, yeah, like that was not a good decision.
Wow.
You're kind of like wasting your time. Like you definitely, that's not going to help you. Like you're already behind the curve. Like it was that kind of, I swear to you, I didn't even know this person, but they were making these assumptions about me. And I was like, we'll see.
Oh, really? It was just like
I
because
was
you could
like,
be, yeah,
Okay. Because I knew my
yeah.
internal knowing it was just so unshakable. Lots of things have been very shakable for me throughout my life. But this internal knowing of my path, that was never, even when I thought about leaving it, the times that I did, because it was so hard,
Mm.
the internal knowing of my path as a person and that it would be a purposeful one and that I didn't need to fear, that was never shakable.
Cool. And how that just almost like the universe providing, bringing someone there who could shake up your confidence. And you'd be like, no,
Yeah,
I
you're
don't want to.
right.
Yeah, that's epic. And then I assume you just had a knowing when the time was inverted commas right
Yeah.
to. Oh,
Yeah.
amazing. Ah,
Yeah.
that's so cool. Brilliant. I reckon what we'll do to wrap up the podcast is to do a rapid fire segment. I'm going to ask the fan questions first, and then I'll do some of mine. There are a lot.
So, yeah, now I'm getting nervous. I'm like, oh, what's gonna
No, no,
come?
no. They're all like chilled and I filtered through. They're all like good, but a lot of them were repeats. I don't know how to say his name, and I'm embarrassed. But what's the best thing about working with Jensen Ackles? Is it Ackles? Is that how you say it?
Yeah. Jensen Ackles, you got it. What's the best thing about working with Jensen Ackles? The guy is a nonstop comedy show. He is really funny and it is so fun and he's playful and hilarious and it's nonstop laughs. It's so good.
Amazing. I'm not going to comment on these, but I forgot to bring up Countdown. That looks amazing. I know that you can talk about this for ages. How was it, getting that call that you'd be doing it and then wrapping up season one? How's that been?
Oh God, getting the call that I would be doing Countdown was like amazing. I was on an airplane and I think just found out before I walked on the plane. And so I sat down and I was like, oh, and there was some tears
Yeah, cool.
and I was it was a massive gift, and the experience of filming it was a massive gift. And just I learned so much, and I worked with the best people, and I'm massively grateful for Countdown.
Amazing. And will there be a season two?
We'll see. We're all on pins and needles over
Oh,
here.
okay. I thought you couldn't say anything. That was okay. And where can people watch it in the States?
Prime Video. So yeah, it's streaming right now on Prime Video.
Amazing. How much fun was it being, and I also can't say his name, I'm so embarrassed. How much fun was it being Danny Trejo's daughter in The Flash?
Trejo's.
Trejo's, thank you.
Being Danny Trejo's daughter on The Flash was like one of the coolest experiences. He is massively cool because he does not try to be cool again. Like this guy is just like cool personified. He's just gritty and raw and real and funny and kind and sweet and such a badass. And I was just like honored to be considered as someone who could be his daughter. It was incredible. He is a gem.
Okay, I know I said I wouldn't comment, but that's amazing. Favorite show of yours to rewatch?
Golden Girls, baby. Oh
That
my
was very
God,
cool.
again, again, and again.
Oh, this is a good one. Was there a role you thought would change everything but didn't?
That's so good. I think oof, there have been a couple. There have been a couple, and I'm not gonna say, but they did not go the way that I thought it was gonna be. Like I've made it, and that was not how it went. But it was a step, and I'm grateful for that step.
This one's going to get you in trouble, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Best actor you've worked with?
Will not be answering that one.
That's the only
I
controversial question I'll ask here.
Yeah, best actor I've worked with. Yeah, I honestly, I'm not trying to find an easy way out, but there is something so special about every single actor that I've worked with, something that is unique only to them, and I've learned something from each of them. And that is the truth. That's just the truth.
You've kind of answered this. Do you have a philosophy on life you follow?
Hmm. Yeah, be here now. Like freedom lies in the present moment. I think is the biggest one. Yeah, one of them.
Biggest, sorry, biggest pet peeve.
Dishonesty,
What lights you up?
kindness.
Next big dream or goal?
Next big dream. Just to keep expanding as a person, just to keep growing and learning and letting go of what I'm ready to let go of, and being open to the moment and the present more and more, and to show up with more love, and to let things slide easier, and to not take things personally even more, and just to keep. I know it's really lame, or it's kind of vague, but that's honestly what I look forward to.
I think that's great. What would you do if you knew you could not fail?
Oh my God. If I knew that I could not fail, well, if I could not fail, I would do all the things that are like all the ills of the world. I would solve them. There would be no genocide, there would be no hunger, no abuse, no neglect, no suffering, and we would find a way to work cohesively and together in love and for love and through love, and I couldn't fail. So it'd be amazing. I
That'd be
would.
great. That'd be great, certainly. How are you feeling for your marathon?
I'm amped. I've prepared as much as I, can within reason. And I'm just excited. I'm excited because it's challenge, and I'm not like competing for time, and I'm not looking at it as like I'm trying to like race anybody. For me, it's me with me for me. And, I'm really looking forward to just spending that time in nature with myself, learning how to get comfortable being uncomfortable, Yeah.
I love that. Have you done many before?
No, this will be my first.
Oh, that's amazing. And I love that. It's
Yeah.
just there for you. Brilliant. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
all the shows you've had to do, which has involved the most physical aspects?
I've done a lot of shows that have been quite physical. I don't know. I had to run a lot on Countdown. Okay. Those scenes that you watch and they go by in like 2 minutes. Dude, we had to do those scenes so many times, like sprinting. So I'd say probably Countdown.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, that was a challenge, but it was really
I
fun.
I heard one of your colleagues talk about how much was involved for you, not for them, but for you, and I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, it's cool. It's good.
How was it being killed off on the Flash?
Um, that sucked.
That
It
came
was
up a
awful.
lot. That was
Huh?
so many people asked that question.
Yeah, no, that sucked. I mean, who wants to die? Who wants to say goodbye to Gypsy? She was freaking awesome. No, I was it's in service of the story and I'm just grateful that I got to fill that leather jacket of hers and her boots and just be a part of that amazing show. And she's strong and amazing and funny and I love her.
Cool. Last few. If you could add any storyline or scene of your character in Flash, what would you choose, or anything that you wanted done differently besides being killed off?
Oh, any storyline or scene? I
I
don't
know
know,
that's
like
putting you on the spot.
yeah, well, it's okay. Any storyline or scene? I mean, like Gypsy gets cloned. And like her clone gets sent to another, like, somewhere else within the multiverse. And so, like, you get to see her living these, like, varied, like, experiences that are vastly different and they're all, like, weird in their own way. And I think that would be pretty cool. Gypsy gets cloned.
I think that's a great, and especially in those type of universes, you can do that. Last one, The Flash, there were so many, I feel I had to ask some of them. Who was your favorite person to work with on The Flash? That can be on screen or off screen, maybe someone you had more laughs with than the average person. That's not as controversial as best actor you've worked with. And just someone you really
Honestly,
enjoyed spending time with.
I honestly loved working with the whole cast. They were so friendly and welcoming and funny and really good. And they just had it down like the world that they created. And they welcomed me in it so sincerely. Um, so they were all really, really special. And Grant to me was like the nicest, like sweetest guy. And he was like get all this attention from everywhere and he just handled it with like such chillness that I was able to witness. And I thought that was really, really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been cool to see. Last question before I ask how people can follow you and keep up to date with you. What is
Mhm.
the one question I should have asked you?
Oh my God. Making me think. That's the one question you should have asked me. I don't really think like that. I just think like you asked what was meant to like be asked. And you know, I was really happy to get to do this podcast and to
Oh,
talk
thank
with you
you.
because I just think that it's so purposeful and it's of service and I'm just happy to be here answering whatever questions you have. So
You are
yeah.
very kind. This has been amazing, and I'll compliment you in like 10 seconds. How can people follow you and keep up to date with you?
I mean, I have an Instagram. I do try and post, work related stuff. So when people can catch me on things, so that's probably your best bet. It is at the Jessica Camacho on Instagram. I made it easy at the Jessica Camacho. That's
Yeah.
me, the Jessica Camacho. Um, yeah. And follow me and to all the people that do, like, thank you for keeping up with me and watching the shows and the projects, and your support means everything.
Very cool. That's in the episode notes below. And also check out Countdown. And yeah, thank you so much. I love your insights, your mindset, your energy. You're very reflective and empowering person. So yeah, thank you so much for having this chat with me.
Thank you so much. It means the world to me to get to like talk about these things that I care about so much. So thank you for giving me this space to do that and for making this happen. And you're really special and wonderful, and I'll do it anytime.
I love how Jessica talks about ticking off the boxes, but realizing even though she was achieving certain goals, she wasn't necessarily internally happy. This is a great reminder for us all in that we don't need to conform to the so-called society's preconceived checklist, and that everyone is unique and should have their own set of goals which align with one's passion and purpose. I love this because it is easy to fall into the mindset of what society deems to be a success. However, Jessica reflects that deep down or internally, we actually have to have our own compass separate from others. I also love how Jessica talks about trial and error. Often in life, we can avoid trying new things because we are perhaps worried about making mistakes. Jessica reminds us that some of our best experiences and learnings can come from this. We just have to keep an open mind. So I'll leave you with this epic quote. Real success in life is not what others see, but how you feel. It is living your truth and doing what makes you feel alive. V.K. Swami. Thank you for listening to the Funny and Failure podcast, exploring the deeper side of comedy.